Hello everyone again. So in this video, it's going to be the second part of our journey from moving our database from NAV 2016 to BC19. So as you can see on my screenshot, what we have done in the part one was to complete the migration in a two-step process. We have moved our database from from NAV 2016 to BC14. That's a check mark. Now we have to move it to BC19. So this whole ecosystem of Business Central, which is base app, system app, and all, plus the India extension is going to be our target. All right, so it's a video in continue, so I will not do too much of my introduction. It's just that I would like to just quickly show you my channel in case you wanted to subscribe. So I've created a channel with my name and that's going to be my blog. All right, so yeah, that's going to be a very summarized introduction. So now I will move to our session that we were continuing. Okay. So guys, before I do a recap, if you haven't seen part one, please go ahead and do that because part two is only going to make sense to you only you have seen part one. Okay. All right. So now let's do a quick recap. In the first part, we have our NAV 2016 database on which I have created a customized field on the table GST group, right? And that customized field was supposed to be moved as a table extension to BC14 and then BC19 at the end. So in the last part, what we have done is that we have completed the migration of our data from NAT 2016 to BC14. That includes our customization. Okay. So in that part, the end result was that we have the conventional objects of BC14, and that's actually BC14 just to remind you guys. Okay. And we have a conventional database of BC14. On top of that, we have our India specific apps. Again, it's not to run functionalities, it's only for data migration. Okay, so BC14 IN is only for data migration, no functionalities. Okay. All right, so from there, we have our upgrade tables, and we basically removed the data from our upgrade tables. That's something we have done. So now we are going to basically, from this database, we are going to create uh, system app, base app, and the third-party apps that we have in Microsoft. Plus, we are going to upgrade our extension. I will not say install our extension, but we are going to upgrade our extension of BC14 India to BC19 India, because keep in mind, from here onwards, it's just a standard process of upgrade. Okay, because you already have moved your database data from you know your 13,000 series tables to India specific apps. Okay, so for India, now it's going to be a conventional upgrade from BC14 to BC19. That includes the functionalities as well. Same goes for your custom apps as well. All right, but for the standard, till BC14, there was no concept of base app. So from this version onwards, what we are going to do here, and that's going to be the major exercise, and the only thing that we are going to do, we are going to explode this database into 2, 3 apps, which is going to be system app, base app, and some of the third-party apps. So I will do that if only needed. Okay. All right. So let's begin. So before you start doing that, we don't have to do anything with the apps that you have already done. That's going to be part of the exercise. There was although one step that I have already done in this database, and that was to remove the upgrade tables. So whatever upgrade tables were there, plus some test automation objects, select them and delete them. Okay, it doesn't really matter if you remove them with the force mode as well, because technically they don't have any data in them. Okay, so yeah, that's one of the things that you have to do. All right, so once you are done with that, just quickly do a build server application object just to ensure that you have everything in place. Perfect. So now let's go back to my key where I basically summarize all the steps. Again, these steps are available on docs as well, so you don't really have to go by this only, but I do have a habit of keeping summarized steps so that I don't have to go into details. All right, so I'll copy this. So that's the first step that you have to do. Now, here onwards, uh, For the other type of objects, we know that we have to move to extensions. But for tables, we still need them. We have to convert them the way they are because we really need the fields. We really need the data. I mean, that's going to be an essential thing. In the backend with the coordinates and pages, it doesn't really matter because you are anyways going to move them to page extension and table extension, right? So in this step, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to export the table objects of my database. Okay, and then it's going to be the range from 1 to this 1999999. Okay, all right, so I'll copy it and I will open nav development shell, and then I have already done this step, so I'm going to remove this object from here. All right, so you have to create a folder in this directory. Keep in mind that it has to be the path that you have defined here. So I'll do this. Again, guys, while it is happening, in case you're moving from 2009 to BC19, again, you have to migrate your data. Don't really bother about moving coordinates and all, okay? You have to anyways move them to extensions. You have to make page extensions, coordinate, subscribers and all. But this exercise is only to make sure that your data is moving the way it should, right? All right, so now since I've done that, I have my table objects here, okay? And that's going to be in txt. Let's take a quick look. All right. Now, the next step would be that I have to convert these objects to AL. All right. So to do that, I will uh, go to my DOS. So keep in mind, I have moved my changed my directory to this path. That's basically my DVD folder. But because I have installed a DVD of BC14 earlier to the version where table data only property was enabled. Okay, but in your case, you can point it to either the DVD folder like I did, or maybe the program files folder of the C drive. It's totally up to you. All right, so I will go to DOS. I'm already on that path. Okay, just to ensure, there it is. And the next command would be that I will run this. Okay, so basically, I'm going to take this text file that I have created on step 1 of export, and I'm going to convert all the objects and move it to an AL folder in the same directory. So I'll say new folder, AL. All right, so copy, paste. Keep in mind you have to keep this property table data only, which means that you have to keep the table, the fields, and their properties. You don't want to move any code in it, okay? Because again, you are doing this exercise just to secure the data. Okay, validations, running triggers, that's going to be part of specific to apps. You don't have to really bother about it now. All right, so that's a good thing. You have 0 errors, and it has to be 0 errors, guys. You have to move all the objects here. Okay. All right, so you can see now I have an app where, not an app, I have a folder which has all the objects in it. Okay, that is perfect. So now my next step would be to create some app files, and let me explain it to you what I have exactly done here. Okay, and I'll suggest you guys keep a very strong attention to this because that's going to be one of the major things that you have to do. All right, so what I do now, I will create a VS Code project. Okay, I've already done that. Let me show you what I'm going to do here. Let me paste this file. Okay, so I'm going to go to VS Code, new window, and in here I will say open folder. I'll try again, open folder. All right, so I've basically created a project in my VS Code. You can do it by just doing algo, and these steps are available in docs, so don't really bother about remembering all that. So I've pasted all those objects here. You can see on my right, I have all the objects in this. Okay, well that's good. Now the next thing that you have to do is that you have to create an app.json file. Okay, now basically what you're doing is you are creating a migration app which is going to take a temporary ownership of all the objects. So you're basically going to say, that's the KR project. I want to change the ownership of, let's say, sales header table and give that ownership to migration app one for an instance. Okay. Then later on, it will go to base app. But yeah, for now, we are going to move it to migration app. So for that, migration app should have all the objects that were available in the conventional NAV database, right? So you can see all the objects are here. Super. Now the next thing would be that you have to move the system app file or the system app symbol, and how you have to move it to the .il packages folder. So create a .il packages folder here, and then you have to copy this file from the BC 180. You can say program files. I'll go there. Business Central 190. In my case, I've taken it from 190, and then L development. Okay, so that's your system app. Copy it and paste it to your project. Okay, now you do not have to download symbols. You only need the package. Okay, so I'll remove this one. I'll say Control Shift B. Let's try to make a package. Let's see what happens. Okay, the package is created, which is a good thing, right? So you need the package here. And again, guys, don't really bother about publishing it, downloading symbols. You don't need all those things. Okay, just take the .il packages folder. Okay, create a package, and then just move on. So that's step one. Now, in a similar way, you have to create another folder. So I will come back here. You have to create another migration app. Okay, so in this app, what I have done, and that's very important to understand. Okay, I'll go to my folders, migration app. All right, so now you can see there are a limited number of folders. It is the same app, but in this case, the version is a bit higher. Okay, so that's going to be a second version of this app. Again, everything else still remains same. Okay, you need system app and all. Okay, now these are some of the tables. It's basically recommended by Microsoft. You can go through the blogs and documentation to understand it. But in general, all the other tables have their you can say um, owners in base app and system app, but these tables are kind of deprecated in some sense, so they don't have any owners on the BC19 app. Okay, so you have to keep these tables. For others, you can just remove that tables. If there are any tables that you don't want to move to BC19, you can also keep those tables here. Okay, again, it doesn't include India localization. India localization is a separate entity which has been already migrated to BC14 extensions. Okay, so that's only for the standard tables of W1. All right, so I'll keep this and I will take you to another file, and this file is very important. So I'm mentioning that in this app, I'm going to remove all the objects, and I'm going to explode this the data because at some point you are going to publish this app as well. Now keep in mind, on the version 1 of this app, you have all the table objects, but in the version 2, you're removing the table objects. Okay, so once you're going to remove the table objects, it's going to consider that as a destructive change. So to handle those destructive chains, I'll take an instance of, let's say, sales header. Okay, now sales header is going to be removed from this folder. Okay, so it doesn't belong to this app, but if your sales header has some data on it, so it's going to read the migration app, sorry, migration.json. It's going to say, okay, I have some apps where I can migrate the data. Okay, now this app is mentioning that this app ID, and if you are familiar with the base app and system app concept, you will understand this. So it's the ID of base app. Okay, it's a hard-coded ID. You don't have to change anything on this. So we are saying this app will have the data of sales header. Okay, now you don't have to write the logic of sales header. You have to just mention the app IDs on which the data can be exploded. So in my case, the data will be exploded to three apps by default. One is system app, second is going to be the base app, and third will be my custom app. So now if you remember the GST app that we have created, it has this app ID. Okay, so the data of GST extension can be exported to this app. All right. So that's going to be our app 2, and we are going to understand that how we are going to use this app. Okay. So let's make a package. Done. You have the package here. Super. Now the third step, you have to create a system app and base app file as well. Okay. Now how are we going to do that? I'll go open system app. Okay. So now you can see I have the same app ID, and keep in mind the app ID has to be same of the system app and base app like it is in BC19. You cannot change those app IDs. Okay. They're very critical. Okay. So keep this app ID, and it doesn't have any objects in it, and that's very important. So for system app and the base app, you have to create a temporary an empty extension, because you will understand the reason why. I'm not going to explain it now, but at some point I will explain it to you. Okay, I'll take that information and keep that with me only from it. Okay, so system app, again, create a package. Control Shift B. Um, what did I do? Creating a package. I don't know why it's asking me for this. Oh, maybe because. Uh, yeah, maybe because I don't have the package file. Maybe that could be the reason. Never mind. Let me just copy and paste it over there. Ideally, it should not be asking me for that, but I don't know why it's doing this. There you go. I have this file now. So now that's your system application. Keep in mind the version has to be 14 because you are going to migrate it to 19. Okay. Same thing goes for the base app. Okay. So again, same fundamental base application, and you have to create a package. I have already created this. So yeah, just do Control Shift B. It doesn't have to have any objects. So let's do a quick recap what we have done so far. We have created two migration app, one with all the objects that we have created in our AL file. Two doesn't have any object except some of the tables recommended by Microsoft. Just keep it the way it is. Three, we have created a blank system app, empty system app, and then we have created an empty base app. Okay. And why did we do that? Because the data that we have in our BC14 database now, it doesn't belong to any app except the apps which are with India and the GST extension that we have created. Okay. Apart from that, all the data like sales header table, customer table, they basically doesn't have any ownership to any specific app. They belong to the database. Okay. And that's what we are trying to do. We are going to migrate those data points to different apps. All right, so that brings me to my next step, and I will keep myself to my BC14 environment for now, and I will say uh, uninstall all the apps that I have in this BC14 database. Okay, just use this command. It's going to uninstall all the apps one by one. Okay, and then in the same way, you have to unpublish all the apps. Okay, that's a standard stuff. You don't really have to bother about this. Now keep in mind, if you're doing it with India localization, you are going to get an error on the first time. But if you run the same command the next time, you won't get any errors. Okay. And the reason possibly behind this is because it's trying to unpublish the extension in a sequence, which is causing the violation of dependency, execution. Okay. So yeah, that is the only reason, because it's breaking the chain and it's basically moving to the next extension and breaking it again. So yeah, just do it again and it will work fine. All right, so at this point, you, I think, have everything in place, right? So your extensions are unpublished. Your database is now ready to be moved to BC19. Okay. Now the next thing that you ideally would do is to install BC19 on your machine. That's going to be the on-prem setup. Now, ideally, I know some of you have already done that, so let's keep it the way it is. Okay. Now, I think at this point you can stop your service of BC14 because you don't no longer need that. Yeah. So I'll go here, BC14. To stop it, I have a bad habit to do it from here. You can do it from the shell command. It's totally up to you. All right. So now I will run this command to start the conversion of my database from BC14 to BC19. Okay. So now I will close the development shell of this and I will open the admin shell of BC19. Okay. CLR, CLS. There we go. All right. So just to get an understanding, so we are going to run the database application database conversion, which is basically going to convert the BC14 database to BC19. Okay, and it's going to be the application conversion. Strong recommendation to take a backup before running this command. Okay, so yeah, so let's try to do that. I will run this command, and I don't have a database server name with an instance. That's a default MS SQL server. My database name is this. Okay, I think we are good. Mm. For some reason, I do have a very bad habit of running commands on different shell. It's also a bit confusing as well. So let's see, where was I? I was running definitely it on a wrong shell. So I'll go to add development shell of BZ19. Okay. Mm, that doesn't belong to this for sure. Oh, okay. I was on a wrong admin shell as well. It has to be Business Central. So, guys, I'll explain you the reason. I was thinking that this was the BC19 admin shell, but if I go to the file location and I go to properties, it's actually pointing to BC140. So yeah, that could be the reason. Yeah, I have forgot to change the icon because the moment I install BC19, somehow I was not able to see BC14 admin shell here, and that could be the reason why I changed the shortcut path, but I forgot to change the icon, and that pretty much confused me. All right, so BC19 administration shell. Let us try to do it again. I'll paste it here. Okay, so it's going to take a while, depends on your database. Okay, so there are commands which also helps you to get the progress of this command. Okay, in my case, it's Cronus, not going to take too much time. So once you get this message, you're good to go. Okay. Now, the next step would be to change your BC19 service tier to this database. Okay. So either run it by command or just, go to your administration and then you have to point to your database. I have created a service with migration BC190, and in this I have pointed it to my database, which is demo database nav 9-0. Yeah. So now I'm going to start this service. Right, so service is up. I'll not run the client for now because we have a ton of exercise to complete. All right, so that is one thing. You're now officially on the BC19, but you still haven't moved your data to different migrations. You still have to publish all the apps. You still have to install all the apps. Okay, so let's take the first step. In this command, there is an area where you define the destination apps for your migration. Okay, so destination apps for migration, it's basically something which is already on the service administration that you do. Let's try to find it out here. What else? I'll explain it to you what it does. Yeah. Okay. So if I collapse this, mm, it should be somewhere in some one of the tabs. I've seen it somewhere. I don't remember exactly where, but I remember seeing it somewhere. If it's not here, then yeah, we can clearly go move on to updating it by a command. Mm, all right, never mind. So it should be with basically this name, destination apps for your migration. Okay. Some reason I cannot find it here, but I've seen it somewhere in the command in the service tier itself. Um, I'm very curious where I can find it. All right, never mind. I think it will take time for me to find it out because I've done that previously. I changed it here itself. All right, never mind. So you can change it from the service from the command itself. So let's understand what we are doing here. We are saying that we have a destination app for our migration, which means we have app, or we can also have apps or more than one apps which can handle migration of our data. So once you're going to mention the app, you can see here it's a JSON array, okay, in which you have to define the app ID, which is going to be the app ID of our migration extension that we have created on the first app, in which we have exported all of our objects, okay, and the name of the app is migration app one, okay. Publisher, just take it from the app.json. If you have more than one apps, just put a comma, copy it from here to here and paste it again. Okay, it's a JSON array, just paste it there and you can have more than one destination for your migration app. Okay, it could have happened in some of the cases you have add-ons or something like that. Yeah, so I'll do a copy and I will go to administration shell. I'll paste it here. All right, so now that's one thing. Uh, the next thing would be that you have to enable the tasks scheduler. So, and you have to make it false. I'll do that again. All right. So the next step would be to restart your service. Either do it manually or just do it from the command. I'll leave it up to you. Super. So far so good. What have we done? We have created certain extensions. We have created some empty extensions. Okay. And we have basically mentioned that our destination for all the migration related things are going to be in this app. Okay. And that we have mentioned in the service tier. Next thing that we have to do is to import the developer license. So I'll run this. There you go. And yeah, I have to then restart the service. Super. Now, the next step would be that now I'm going to start publishing of the apps. So the first app, and that the sequence is very, very important here, guys. The first app that you have to publish is going to be the migration app one that has all the objects in it. Okay. So I'll just copy this command. I think you guys already are aware of the commandlet that you have to use for publish nav app. If you're not, just feel free to browse through the documentation by Microsoft. Okay, so I will run this. So this app is going to be the heaviest one because it has all the objects, almost every object that you have in your system, except the India related apps. All right, so that's one thing. Now, the next step would be to publish the empty system app. Okay, that's done. And then you have to publish the empty base app. That is done. The next command would be to synchronize the tenant in the mode sync. Okay, standard command. Again, guys, if you are using multi-tenancy, then you have to do it for each tenant. Okay, so we are just taking one tenant as an example for now. All right, so that is done. Now we are going to sync all these three apps. Okay, so you can either do it one by one. Sequence is very important. Okay, so you can just copy all three of them and just paste it here. But again, keep in mind, sequence is very important. So either do it one by one. If you're doing it all at once, so the sequence should be migration app one, system app, then base app, and if you have any other app. Okay. It's basically running it for three apps. I got one warning message, which means it is running for migration app for now. And this should be the most time taking step, I would say, because it has technically all the objects in it. I'll also show you the impact in SQL that it is creating after this so that it gives you more understanding. All right, so that is done. And now let's run the data upgrade. So when I say data upgrade for BC19, as of now, we don't have any app specific to this. The only thing that it is going to do is to change the ownership of the standard tables to migration app one. Okay, I'll show you the impact technically what it is doing right now. So I will run data upgrade. That is done. Let's jump back to SQL and see what it has actually done into the database. So we'll refresh. And on tables, I have kept a filter to, I think I have to change it. Let's see the customer table for an instance, okay? So I've filtered my tables to customer and mm, let's see. So with the name of customer, we have this, technically more than one tables in a summary, okay? And if I do a new query, select asterisk from, so technically the customer table is gone. Okay. Now this app, if you remember, it's the same app that we have it's the same app ID that we have on our migration app one. Okay. So if I take you to the step where we have, set the destination for our migration app. So there you can see. So now you have a customer table in the front end, sorry, in the back end. And if I try to see the data in it, so you can see all the data which was in the customer table of the standard is now moved to this extension. So which means that the ownership of this table is now changed to migration app one. Okay. But that's not our end result, guys. We have to change the ownership back to base app, not back to base app because base app is technically not published yet. Right. And you can see you don't have any base app table. Now you might ask this question that why do I still have 2, 3 apps, and that's because that is not standard. That is when I say not standard, that means W1, that's India localization. Okay, I think that is related to PAN status. It should be GST. I don't know. What about this? I'm sorry, that is GST. That should be TDS then, or tax base. I don't know, but that's specific to India localization. I'm pretty sure about this. You can see the name of the fields too. Yeah. All right. So that's one thing. So I hope you got an understanding of what is migration JSON, right? So basically, you have changed the ownership of the standard tables of W1 to migration app one. Okay. Now, let's try to understand what are we going to do now is that we are now going to install the empty extensions that we have just created. Okay. So the system app and base app, we are just going to copy both of them because it doesn't really have matter. Sorry, I just jumped on a little. Yeah, there you go. Because they are anyways a empty app. So, but the sequence again, guys, is very important. Okay. System app, base app, done. Now, what we are going to do from here is that our data is now moved to our migration app. Okay. Now the next step would be that we are going to publish our BC19 apps. Okay. So when I say apps, it means now you have to publish your system application, your base application, India related extensions. Okay. So we are now going to do that. All right. So again, guys, sequence is very, very, very important because it is going to fail eventually if you're not going to follow the sequence. But on the other end, if you are going to run it on one go, again, guys, sequence is going to matter at that time because if any of the dependency is not met, then it's going to fail, and all the other extension is going to fail as well. Okay, so let's try to understand. First, it is going to be system app, then base app, then the application app. For India, that's where you're going to start for India. For India, it's going to be tax engine, then data tax base, then QR generator, then GST, gate entry, TCS, TDS, India voucher interface, FA, reports. Then we have an additional app. So let's try to do it this way. Let us try to publish it till the report extension. All right. And I could do that for the other two apps as well, but I'm not going to do it for now because I would like to explain you guys something here. Okay. So I'll say copy, paste. So my license right now is for, I think it was for BC18. So do it with the right license, guys. That is also important. So technically, I think base app is the second app. So eventually this one is going to take the lot of time. And at this time, guys, it's going to contain all the functionalities as well. Okay. So we are not just publishing tables now, we are also publishing code units and everything. Okay. So while it is happening, let's see what else we have to do. Once this is done, we are going to publish another extension which is only specific to migration. Yeah, I think I can remove. I think I pasted it twice for some reason. I don't know. Okay, so you have to publish this extension, and the whole purpose of this extension is technically, I'll explain it to you, but it's to calculate tax on your open documents because you that's only specific to India. Okay, so if you open source of it, it only has one code unit, some code to attach it to assisted setup, But then the only job of this code unit is to, move everything to calculate taxes on your open documents, because there has been a design change, an architectural change when it comes to tax calculation of India. So it's going to be auto calculated on the poster documents because that's something which is already derived, but on the open documents, it has to be tagged with a use case. Okay. So ideally, this step is basically the most time taking one. After this, there will be another step which is going to take a bit of time, but I think it should be good enough. So once the migration extension is published, the next extension would be the migration app, and which is the second version of that app, which we have created as an incremental version. Okay, which basically doesn't have all in it. We're going to do that. So once we do that and we run the data upgrade, it's basically going to change the ownership again, and then we have to synchronize all these apps. So we're going to do that as well. Okay, I think base app's done, tax engine's done. It is doing tax base, I guess, keyword generator, GST. I think we're close. Okay, so technically we have published our BC19 apps. Now we are going to publish the India migration app. Again, guys, keep in mind India data migration app is the same app that you were using in BC14 as well. It has a different source code now, but technically it's the same app which was transferring your data from your upgrade tables in BC14 to your India specific tables. Okay, so India data migration. Let's publish this. And then the last publishing app that we are going to have is the migration app, which is basically the incremental version of that app, which doesn't have all the table objects in it. Okay. All right, here we go. So now let's start doing a upgrade of this app. Hmm, okay. Okay. Sorry, guys. I actually missed this step. Basically, I have to sync it before I do that. I don't know why I did not done that. So now basically what we are going to do, uh, and that's silly of me, uh, I've published the app, have to synchronize this app as well, right? So once I'm going to synchronize it, it's going to read the migration.json and it's going to migrate the data of the migration app version 0 to the base app, system app, and your any other app if it is needed. If in case it is getting any error, then it's going to stop the synchronization and it will throw you an error. If you're so sure, then you can do it in force mode. Okay. In my database, let's try to do that. But I've played a lot with this database, so I'm expecting that it might throw me an error as well. But I will definitely show you the end result, which is the GST group code field that I have created in the standard object, and it should have data at the end in BC19. Okay, so let's try to run it without any force mode. If it doesn't, then we are going to use, if it doesn't work, then we are going to use the force sync mode. Okay, but at the end, we should see the mapping field name, the custom field that we have created in GST group code of 2016. Okay, we should see that field in BC19. Okay, so let's see. All right, so it has thrown me an error. Let's see. Payment terms. That's not good. I have published. Hmm. Okay. So let's see. All right. So I think. Oh. Okay. 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 I think I know what the matter is because I haven't synced the system app and base app, and I'm jumping right away to the migration app. Sorry, guys. Silly me again. So let's try to do it this way. I have to publish the system application because the schema has to synchronize on these apps, right? So let's try to do it this way. So system app, base app, and I will do it till the India migration app. So let me just copy it from here to here. As I'll say it's a good thing that I'm getting errors, right? So in your case, if you get similar error, you can see how to fix it. So basically, while it is happening, let's see what I have done. So I've published all the apps. I have to synchronize basically this app, okay, and basically I have to run the data upgrade of this app. Before doing that, I have to do the uh, synchronization. But to do the synchronization of this app, I have to technically have all these apps in place, okay, because I've published base app, but I have to now synchronize it. So technically, I don't have the table in the backend for this. So once I do that, I should have the table, and then I should be able to run the synchronization of migration app. Okay, let's see. All right, so I have done it till, I guess, data migration. So till here it is done. So now let's try to sync our app. I'll avoid force mode for first go. So this time, earlier it was giving me error for payment terms, which was not ideal, and that's where I stopped. I could have done it with force mode, but it was definitely not ideal because payment terms is a basic table, right? It has to be in the system. So if by any chance it gives an error, and if it is only for some dummy tables like test tables and all, and some unwanted tables, then we'll go with the forcing option. But again, guys, it should not be giving me an error for tables like payment terms like it was doing here, right? Because these are standard tables. And that's where it stuck my mind that I haven't synchronized system app and other extensions, right? All right, so let's see. You have to wait. Ideally, these things can be handled by SQL as well. So feel free to do it from that way. I mean, totally up to you. If it is a heavy database, I'll also recommend do it with SQL. But if it's not, then yeah, we have standard approaches as well, right? And based on my experience, I've heard people saying that uh, that we can do it using SQL, or then I get a very, I'll say, disturbing idea that it can be done using configuration packages as well, right? So guys, avoid doing that. It's not right. I'll say on the first hand, do it for masters for configuration package. That is fine to an extent as well. Again, but if you're doing it for transactions, no, configuration packages are not meant for that. Okay. Okay, so that is done. This time I don't get any error, which is a good thing, right? Because last time it got it with a force sync error. All right, so before running nav data upgrade, I would like to, and I'm very curious about this now because let's see what we have on our customer table this time. All right, so with customer, earlier we have this extension, that's our India extension. Now you will notice with customer, we don't have the extension with the migration app ID. Instead, we have an extension with the base app ID. So 437 is the base app ID, right? So let's see, select asterisk from voila. So we have all the data of the customer table in the base app, right? So that is actually remarkably a very good sign. So if you are till this step, you have done 98% of the task. You have won the 98% of the battle. Okay. And trust me, guys, moving India database to BC19 is kind of a battle. Okay. All right. So now the next step would be to start the data migration just to ensure the app is installed. Uh, you do not really need to uninstall this app. So just to be on a safer side. Okay. Yeah. It says for some reason that the app is already not installed. So I don't know. So you can skip this. Now we are going to uninstall the migration apps because technically we don't have those apps in the system. Okay, and the job of those apps is almost done. Or I will not say almost; it's very much done. It's no longer needed. So I will publish both the apps, version 0 as well as version zero point 0.1. That is done. Now we are almost on the final step, guys. Okay, now you have to install your extensions. Earlier you have published them and synchronized them. Now it's the step where you are going to upgrade them or install them. Okay, so for system app, you already have a blank version of system app and base app in your system. Okay, so in this time you're going to start the nav data upgrade, which is going to technically install those apps. But for some extension that you're going to install for the first time, you have to use install nav app. Now in the documentation, you might have seen that you have to run the start nav app data upgrade command for the remaining extensions. So it is right to an extent, but on the other hand, you have to be very smart while doing that. Don't use start nav app upgrade for the apps which have never been installed. You're going to have an error message for this. Okay, so let's try to do it this way. I will copy this and let me just tell you which are the extension that you have to install instead of data upgrade. So one of them would be the application app, which is basically the proxy extensions. Next will be the QR generator. Again, it was not in BC14. Other extensions of India, we already had them. It was only tables. Now we are going to have code as well. India reports, again, nothing relevant to the table, so we didn't have that in the BC14. India migration app was the same app that we were using for moving our data from our upgrade tables to India extension tables, right? So I will copy this, paste it here, run. So again, up to you. Want to do it one by one, do it by that way, or if you want to do it in one go, if you're if you are confident enough, yeah, do it that way either. Either one of the ways fine. I would rather recommend to put it in a PowerShell and then put a log or something in between, so that if something is completed, I should be aware of that. So let's see where we are. So right now, system apps done, base apps done, application is done. Oh, okay. I think we're almost there. No need to count. All right. So now your system is 99% ready. Okay. You have published everything. Now there's only one thing which is kind of remaining, that is pertaining to your customization. Okay. Let's get back. And if you remember that we have a GST extension on which we have created a field on GST group code table, right? And that's our migration app field. Now we are going to create a page extension, and we are also going to connect it to our BC 190 migration app. So just to show you guys that the database is up and running now, I will do a download symbols. And in my app.json, I have removed other dependencies, except I have India GST as a dependency here. Okay, because my app is now published. So you can see here, there, that's my app for BC19 India GST. So that's my app. So I think we're good. Let's publish it. Again, do it either by this or by PowerShell, up to you. All right, so we have this as well now in place. Let's try to run our client. Let's see, what do we have here? Let me close some of the tabs. So that's basically the client, and you can see India taxation common setup. We already have that in place. Now just quickly see where we are at our configuration. Not configuration. So there you can see the GST group table, and that was our primary target, guys, right? So that's our field, migration app field. Okay, so we have moved the data from NAV 2016 to BC19. All right. So as part of the customization and data migration, you're through. Now, to make this database up and running for customers, you still have a few more steps to perform. Now, let me walk you through some of them. So if you go to advanced settings, tax types, you will have some of the tax types here, but I do not think you will have use cases. Yeah, so you have only one use case, which is for upgraded tax information, which basically doesn't have anything in it. It is just basically a dummy use case for connecting your existing posted transactions to a dummy ideal use case. Okay, because in India localization, and none of the transaction of taxation gets posted without tagging of the use case. Okay, so first things first, you need all the use cases in your system. So you go to settings, assisted setup, and then you will say setup tax engine. Say next. Do it with append. Replace doesn't really matter, because oh no, it does matter. Do it with append, because if you do it with replace, it's going to remove your tax rates, which you might have already configured in NAV 2016. Okay. All right, we're good. So I'll say finish. So now it's basically importing all the use cases of standard into your database so that your system has all the use cases to calculate taxes on the document. Apparently, in NAV 2016, India database, I think there was no transaction for, which is basically calculating tax on the standard documents. But in this upgrade, I will show you that your rates are intact, and I will also show you tax calculated on any one of the documents. Okay. So this should be done soon. It should not take too much time. So while this is happening, let's move to next window. Let's see where we are on our apps on this database. Okay. So we'll go to advanced settings and then extensions. So here you can see base app, it is saying not installed, obviously because the base app 19 is installed. That's your extension. That's your system app again. And somewhere, yeah, so that's the extension that I was creating for GST group code and the other apps which we have for specifically to India. Now, apart from that, there are other apps as well, sales forecast and everything. I mean, you can install them if needed. Don't really need my help on that, I guess. So while it is happening, guys, if you are an existing customer, let's say someone who has already gone live on BC18, now they are moving to BC19, they do not really have to run the assisted setup, right? Because in their case, as and when you publish the extension, while if you're doing either a cumulative update or by, if your tenant is on cloud and it's getting provisioned by Microsoft, so the moment it is getting upgraded, it basically, auto update your use cases in that case. Then that is something which I guess it was, yeah, it was shipped in BC19. So earlier, even your use case is updated in your code base, you still have to run the assisted setup. But now it's that's not the case. You can just simply publish it, and it's going to publish your use case as well. So it's on GST says should be almost done in some time. All right, so that is done. So let's go back to advanced settings, tax types. All right, now we will go to use cases. There it is. So now I have all the use cases in the system, which is a good sign. All right, so let me just quickly check the use case tree. Nice. Well, that's also in place, which is good. Um, that's one more thing, that is the tax rates. So your tax rate is also migrated in the new, table structure, right? That's also a good sign. Okay, so we're good here, right? Um, Now the last step of the data migration is to calculate taxes on your existing transactions. Okay, so you have to just click on next and then finish. So it's basically going through your transaction lines and we'll see if there are any tax related transactions. I was looking and it was calculating it on sales credit memos. So let's see if we have any transaction there. We have one. I'm not sure if it is, yeah, it's not ready for calculating of taxation because, yeah, it doesn't have HSN code or anything on it. Never mind. So what we will do, we will create, or I'll just go to an existing sales order and I will add an item which has HSN code on it, right? Um, Mumbai Graphics, yeah, that seems like a Indian company. So let us remove this item because it doesn't have any HSN code on it. And I'll say 70,000. Blue, okay. One, first time it's taking a while. Let's see what happens if I say two, should not take too much time. Yeah. Okay, so we have the tax here. For some reason we don't have the percentage there, which is fine. That doesn't really matter. If I go to stats, so I can see there's a use case here. If I click on that, I can go to the use case. I can see the calculation as well. So I think we're good. I think we're good. Yeah. Computation script. It doesn't have any, which is good. All right. So now I will say post, ship an invoice. I mean, again, that's basically test of one transaction. You don't really have to do that on your database just to ensure that things are fine, running good or not. There you go. So I have a posted document as well, and everything seems good now. So if I go to GST ledger entry, that's my one transaction. And again, guys, don't worry about the other database because in NAV 2016 database of India, I don't really have any India specific transactions there. And that's the reason why we don't have it here either. Okay, there you go, IGST. All right, guys. So I think now you guys are capable enough of taking it to cloud if needed. Just use Intelligent Cloud from here. It's just basically vanilla from here to cloud database. Just keep in mind you have to remove this India migration extension because you no longer need it. Okay. And yeah, I mean that's pretty much the journey, guys, and that's pretty much the video of this two-part journey. Feel free to put up your questions regarding the technical migration. And again, guys, I've mentioned this in my previous version of my previous part of the video. I will be happy to answer technical related questions. Yeah, but don't ask anything related to functionalities. I'm not a functional expert on GST grounds. But yeah, feel free to ask questions about the technical upgrade of this, or if you have any questions about tax engine or something, I will be happy to answer them. All right, guys, that's pretty much it. Thank you for watching this video and have a good day.